All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, he is back, and today is a very, very unique gift for all of you since it's Christmas. I'm like, this is the best Christmas gift for anyone, including me, which is to actually learn one of the most important limbs of the Vedas, which actually even I did not know, which I had just learned today, which is that poetry is one of the limbs of the Vedas, astro poetry, and especially because I know him, I know Kavindra Rishi for a long time, and he used to tell me his poetry over the phone, and I'm like, wow, what if I could just have the world listen to it? So I'm like, he's a very private person with his poetry. I'm like, no, you got to bring it out to the world. You got to let the world see this. So, and the best thing about the poetry is I want you to pay attention to them. Why? Because these are like the secret mythology of the zodiacs and the nakshatras, which actually helps you clue you in to make predictions. So his poetry has these secret slokas and things that help you understand things in a way where you'll be like, wow, I didn't know this was part of this astrology or the planet or the cosmos. So please help me welcome the master of astro poetry, Kavindra Rishi. Welcome.
Thank you. Namaste. So good to be back with you.
Absolutely. So please let my fill my audience in about the whole thing about poetry and astrology and the Vedas.
All right. So where we begin is that the Vedas and Jyotish are part of a whole body of learning that the ancients thought about very carefully or was given to them in a very precise way. So think of the whole Vedic body of knowledge, it's a library, as actually a body. And that body has a content. You could say it has a soul, it has an atma, which is the deepest meanings of it. And then the subjects that we all need to know to live in this world are called the limbs of the Veda. And they're called the Veda Angas, just like Astanga Yoga is Ashta Anga, 8 limbs. So there are 6 limbs to the Vedas, and Jyotish is one of those 6. But there are 5 others. This is so very important for us to understand. So we have a bigger view of what we're doing as Jyotishis. Okay. So the first of these limbs is called Siksha, and it's the phonetic pronunciation of Sanskrit. It's pronouncing all the words exactly with the right sound, so the profound effect happens when we pronounce them. The second is Vyakarana. There has to be a grammar that's perfect, that doesn't change over time, so meaning doesn't drift over time. And so grammar in Sanskrit is 4,000 rules of grammar.
Wow.
The Ashtadhyaya Panini has 4,000 grammatical rules. My Sanskrit teacher knew them by heart. You could say something in Sanskrit, he'd go rule 3,221 and then tell you the rule.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing. But this language, Sanskrit, is what has preserved the knowledge of Jyotish and the other Vedic knowledge so perfectly for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, so that it hasn't gotten distorted. And that's what's so remarkable about it. So the next is called Chandas, and Chandas is also known as Kavi, or poetry. And because poetry has meters, it has a rhythm built inside. If you listen to Shakespeare, to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether or not 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. So poetry is constructed so we can memorize truth. It's a vehicle, so it's the feet of the Vedas. It carries the knowledge forward in time. Before we had computers and paper to write on, we had to memorize. But memorizing a song or a poem is much easier than just a prose passage on a page.
Yeah.
So the next one is called Nirukta. Nirukta is etymology, and that's the ear of the Vedas. Nirukta means all the words have a meaning that is the root of the word, the very root. Like the word karma, the root of the word is kri. And Kri means to do and to receive the result of your doing over long periods of time. So Kri is the root of karma and karana and antakarana and all the Kri words. So knowing the roots of language is called nirukta, or etymology. The next is called kalpa, the fifth one, or rituals. And that's the hand of the Veda, that with which we do everything. So if all of nature is coded with laws of nature, then everything we do has a correct ritual. I'll give you an example. If you're going to start your car, if you put the keys in the ashtray, the car doesn't start, does it? Wrong ritual. You put something else in the ashtray. You put something else in the glove compartment. If you put your keys in the glove compartment, the car doesn't go, okay, let's go.
Right.
There's a ritual. You put it in the ignition. You do this, whatever the ritual is. So that's called kalpa, or rituals. Life is entirely made up of rituals, and we either do them out of harmony with nature or in harmony with nature. So this is a critical part of the Vedas. Empty rituals is when you don't know why you're doing it, but meaningful rituals are when you get it. And so all science is rituals. You do it this way, it works. You do it another way, it doesn't work. So that's called kalpa. That's the fifth, the hand of the Vedas, just as poetry is the feet. And lastly, the sixth is Jyotish. And Jyotish, of course, Jyoti is light, and it's originally the light of the Brahma Jyoti, the light of the transcendental, coming in through Surya, the sun, and illuminating everything, and then being the basis of life. So Jyoti is, of course, the science of light, and therefore it's the eye of the Vedangas, the eye of the Vedas. So we who are Jyotishis are seers, using the knowledge of Jyotish to see things that are otherwise invisible by using Jyotisha, the sixth Vedanga, the eye of the Vedas. So today, I want to combine in a meaningful way for you all the third, the feet of the Vedangas, Chandas, poetry, with Jyotish. So you
I
could
have a question. You said it's the feet. Does that mean that it helps you to walk properly in your knowledge of learning and life? Is that what it's meaning?
Great question. It means that knowledge moves forward in history down a crooked path. It's as if someone is walking and carrying something, which is exactly what it is. This knowledge of Jyotish was carried in the past by other great rishis and sages, and they literally carried it all throughout their life. Then they handed it over to someone else who then carried it. And when they did that, they did it in poetry. The verses from the Parashara Hora by Parashara, the famous text of Jyotish, is in poetry. It's actually done in chandas with a meter, so that when you memorize the book, that memorization is like learning a song, and the mind grabs it and carries it easily. So through that, then it's carried forward, so it acts like the feet. And in poetry, we call the measure of the lines, the rhythm and all of that, the poetic meter, or the pada, or the foot. It's the rhythm and footsteps. Just like when you hear the drums, your feet start to move. So today, I'm going to demonstrate something that is unique, because the Vedic knowledge is in poetry. Because it's come across into English in prose, we don't get this.
Yeah.
We don't understand why would I learn poetry. Sounds like something I learned in school and was tedious and my teacher made me do it. Quite the contrary. In the yogic culture, poetry is how you memorize shlokas, if you memorize Sanskrit. So let's do that next, because mantras are poetry. They're whether they're one-line mantras or the Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri is a poetic meter.
Yeah.
Om Bhur-Bhuvasva Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yona Prachodayat. That's Om Bhur-Bhuvasva. That's the introduction. Now watch. Tat Saviturvarenyam 8. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi 8. Dhyo Yona Prachodayat 8. So that's called the Gayatri Meter. So there's a whole class of mantras that have the Gayatri Meter, not just the Surya Gayatri, but the Vishnu Gayatri, the Saraswati Gayatri, the Indra Gayatri. And this is a poetic meter that carries this mantra forward. Okay. So now, why is this important to us as Jyotishis? It's because nothing is as it appears. It's just like Dr. House says, everyone lies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other rule is nothing is what it appears to be. I'm not the sweater or the beads, and I'm not the skin, and I'm not the hair. I'm the being inside. I'm the conscious entity. So we as Jyotishis have a responsibility. Whenever we do a reading, we should start by saying, well, first of all, according to Jyotish and the Vedas, you and I and every living entity are Atmas. We're eternal divine beings who cannot die. We're immortals. We're not evil for being here. The universe is a kind of university, and here we are, and things are not as they appear. You're not the body, and you're not the mind, and you're not any of the physicality that makes you up. That's just your vehicle. We're the teachers of this, we Jyotishis. So you have to set the context for the reading correctly, or the person will just be further confused by your words.
Yeah.
You have to say, first of all, you're an immortal being. That's the premise of this whole science. Can't take that part out. And then you say, now you have 9 significant departments in your being, which we call the graha.
Grahas, okay.
Yeah, the 9 planets. So then you say to them, now I'm going to talk to you using those words. So when I talk about your Mars, I'm talking about a department of your being. When I talk about your Venus, I'm talking about a department of your being. But are those obvious? Are the meanings related to the planets just obvious? If they were, everyone would see them, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So this is secret knowledge. So it's the knowledge of the devas. So this is very important. We're used to using language to pass objects around. If I say, pass the salt, give me this object, give me that object. We think that the primary use of language is to move objects around. So we think a word just has one meaning. Salt, pepper, this, table. I don't have to try to get more. But if I say, tell me in one word the meaning of Mars, just one word, encompass the whole subject, can you?
True.
No, impossible.
Yep.
So it's the devas are the planets. So think of them as living on a realm where there's no objects like we see objects. So if we try to talk to them, we have to learn their language. And their language is not object-oriented, it's meaning-oriented. And meaning is where we get the word myth or symbolic or metaphorical. It has multiple levels. In other words, when a deva speaks, there are multiple levels of meaning to what they say. And it's true in a person, is it not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What do we deal with as Jyotishis if not these shades of meaning?
Yeah.
To tell some kind of story about the specific person that's useful to them, that helps them connect to universal archetypes. But we work for those universal archetypes. Those are the devas. So we're in the employ of those devas as Jyotishis and answerable to them.
So when you're saying that you connect with them through symbology and meaning, so let's say if I wanted to connect to Shukra, Venus,
Right.
what is it that I would do in a most simplest form to connect with the devas so that I can speak their language and be like in contact with them?
Well, first, you'd have a different expectation than you would with a normal human conversation. You'd expect that everything they say is tricky and subtle and has multiple levels of meaning.
Okay.
Because this is what poetry is. Now, this is where I'm leading us. In poetry, we say it's called a double entendre. It has two different meanings.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, if I'm in the presence of a lady and I say, oh, the flowers are so fragrant today.
Yeah.
I could mean the flowers in the garden, and it would work best if we were there, but I could look at her and say it with that extra meaning that says, you are the most beautiful of all the flowers. Then I could say, or I could say, I'd like to take you for a walk in the garden so the flowers can smell your fragrance. We're doing Venus, aren't we?
Right.
You see? You see the subtlety of Venus?
Yeah.
Without poetry, you can't get the subtlety of Venus. You can't get the innuendo that went into making that particular approach that was subtle and meant to give pleasure, and it was refined, and it wasn't just gross or physical. So that is the way the devas think, the way they behave, and they created the universe. They're the primal beings who created the universe we live in. They are the laws of nature.
Okay.
So here's the secret of this. Language is the human gift. And of all of those gifts, Sanskritam, is called Devanagari. The alphabet is called Devanagari, the city where the devas live.
Okay. Devnagar.
Devnagar.
Yeah, there's a place in India called Devnagar. So
That's
that's
who it is. It's Devanagari. It's Devnagar. So those 50 letters of the Sanskrit alphabet are also called the matrikas, the little mothers. Because from them, everything is created. Everything is actually vibration, spoken into existence by the original beings.
okay.
And this is why in the Vedas, Sanskrit is our key, because mantras and knowledge that's kept steady in the container of Sanskrit is how we have a direct line to hundreds of thousands of years ago. And we're still hearing exactly what they said. So let's use this as the entrance into the subject. I thought today we would just do quickly the introductory mantras that a Vedic person usually does.
Yes.
So we always begin with Guru. So, Omagana Timirandasya Ganangana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Gena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was blind when I was born. I couldn't see, the mantra says. And my eyes were closed, and I was stumbling about. And my guru came in with the torchlight of knowledge, forced my eyes open. I bow to such a guru.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now we've opened up a link to all the lineage of Jyotishis that have come before us. And we're honoring them. And that honoring opens a two-way channel of connection between us and them.
So the mantra you just said is like that channel opening to all the great Jyotish. Wow.
That's right. To all.
If I was to record what you just said and listen to it in my meditation, is that something that I can do?
Yes. And repeat those words. And I can give you the words and you can put them online for people.
Okay.
The next mantra I'm doing is to the one we work for as Jyotishis. We work for Ganesha. Because Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. See, we're not trying to make decisions for people. If you do that, you'll take their karma. No, no, no.
That's exactly what I keep telling people. I
Do
can't
not do
interrupt
that.
your karma.
There's an old saying, if you speak badly of people, you eat their karma.
Exactly. That's why I've become like, I'm a very weird astrologer. Like, your consultations are like weird. You're not like the other ones. I'm like, exactly. There's another person who's like me. Kavindra Rishi. That's I learned it from. What not to say and what to say to people.
That's it. With all due respect, I'm glad to be in your service, but I'm not here to make your decisions for you.
Exactly. They say, people say, oh, it's okay. You can tell me negative things and positive things. It's okay. I'm tough. But I'm like, I'm still, I don't want to do it because I don't want to get that on me. It's not that I don't want to tell you.
Right.
I don't want to get the negative karma on
Well,
me.
let's do the Ganesha mantra then.
Yeah.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. O Ganapati, O first child of Mother Nature, Durga, O Isha of all the categories of the material world and everything that exists here, O remover of obstacles, help me and the people that I'm trying to help to remove our ignorance and our obstructions and our lack of knowing so that we can work cooperatively with nature and succeed in the thing that we're trying to do for my good and the good of all. Now the devas are listening. They're going, a reasonable human. They're not just selfish and trying to get stuff for themselves. They're not just grabbing and taking whatever they can. They're actually asking for our help in knowing how to succeed by cooperating with the laws of nature and not getting what? Papa, negative karma. And instead to get punya, positive merits for what you do to lead you toward your goal. Because we are here to learn.
Now, is that the mantra that we do for Ganesha, or is the other one that you also gave me, the Om Ganesharavaya Brahma Upaya, that particular
There are
mantra?
quite a few different mantras for each of these beings. You might say it's their many poems.
Is there many? Okay.
Yeah.
There's
So
different key codes to open the door.
absolutely.
Okay.
And they're in different moods and you use different names. And that's why the devas have so many names.
Yeah.
But when you become a poet, you become sensitive to which name to call them. So let's extend the Venus metaphor. Let's say that you and your wife are out in public and your secret name for her is Snookums. And you only call her Snookums when you're snuggling together and about to go to sleep and you say, I love you, Snookums. Okay. So that's a Venus moment with you and your wife. Now, if you're out at a party somewhere and you say, hey, Snookums, come here, would that be appropriate?
No.
No. You're in a public setting, not in an intimate setting. You're in a public setting.
Yeah.
But she has another name, and her other name is Jasmine. Oh, Jasmine. Now, if you said, oh, my beloved Jasmine, oh, that's a little iffy for public. You'd say, Jasmine, my dear. That would work for your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jasmine, my dear, may I speak with you? We're at a party.
Yeah.
See?
You can say, hey, sexy, come here. That's only private.
Exactly. Not appropriate. So Venus knows exactly what's appropriate, but Venus is a deva. Shukra is a deva. And all the devas know what's appropriate in their field. And they're looking at us, kind of like if you were talking to barbarians who could hardly speak, we're going, give stuff, give stuff. That's how we look to them.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's why they don't listen to all the prayers that everybody keeps asking them.
No, because they're babbling on and it's their...
What are you doing? No.
My saying is that human life is this reality comedy show for the devas.
That's it. That's so.
They're up there going, oh no, he's going to marry her. Oh, no. It's a train wreck. It's a train wreck. Okay, so now let's go to the next mantra, which is to Saraswati.
Okay.
We have to have the feminine divine present. Everything happens because of the feminine divine. And she is the Devi of speech. Vach, vak. You know, to vocalize. So the English word vocal comes from this word. And it also, what we speak is called katha. And this is where the Catholic word cathedral comes from.
Katha, cathedral, the cathedral ceiling, which is telling a story.
And it's because the Pope speaks ex cathedra. He sits on a square chair, that's a hedron, and he speaks katha, what is Catholic, which means universal, kathaholic, the whole truth, supposedly. But that's all Sanskrit. So Saraswati is the Devi of speech. So the next mantra to her is because we're going to do her poetry now. She writes the poetry, I don't. She uses me as an instrument and the poetry comes through me. The poems I'm going to read today, no one of them took longer than 20 minutes to appear on the page. They just come out like a printer.
Wow.
Who's doing that is Saraswati. And you should be guessing that I have some.
To spread that knowledge now to the world.
And you should be guessing that I have something in my chart that connects me to her, since I've been writing poetry since I was 13, before I even knew Jyotish. So we'll save that. But so now let's talk to her. Om Kripam Kuru Jagan Mata Mamevam Hatate Jasam Jnanam Dehi Smriti Vidyam Shakti Dehi Manasvini. We said, be kind upon me, Kripam Kuru Jagan Mata, O Mother of the Universe. Mamevam Hatate Jasam. Someone hated me or got mad at me or something happened and I forgot the knowledge that I had acquired. Ugh, what could be worse? So, Kripam Kuru Jaganmata Mamevam Hatate Jasam Jnanam, knowledge please. Jnanam Dehi, immortal. Vidyam Shakti Dehi Manasvini, please give me memory, immortal wisdom and knowledge, and help me remember it this time.
Okay.
So by us doing this, we're not just being selfish humans. By me saying Saraswati writes the poem through me, I'm the instrument. As much as that's my instrument in my hand, I'm the instrument in her hand. If it's beautiful, it's because of her. So next we go to what is Jyotish? Well, it's this body of learning passed on by great rishis. One of them was Parashara. So the Parashara aura says in its early verses, Om Jivanam Karma Falado Graha Rupi Janardanaha. It says, Jivanam, all these living beings, Karma Falado, get the fruit of their actions. Graha Rupi, that's the function or form of the planets. Janardanaha, acting on behalf of Vishnu, the source of the birth of everything. So if you chant that shloka every morning, you reorient yourself to being correctly a Jyotishi. You remember that the devas are giving the karma. You're just a consultant, as we were saying. And now through that shloka, which has been around forever, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, memorized by students of Jyotishi to know why they're doing what they're doing, how to relate to the grahas.
And you know, this is before we even get into poetry, I wanted to actually ask you, a lot of people ask me, so you have all these weird rules, you're not going to tell me this, you're not going to tell me that, you're not going to show this, then what's the point of astrology then? Why am I even getting a reading from you if you are not even going to be that, you know, quote unquote, that normal astrologer to tell me everything?
Yes.
What is it that we tell those clients or people?
Sure. Well, remember, there are boundaries because we're trying not to take away the person's free will, but we are teaching them about how cause and effect works. It's like the saying, don't give someone a fish, give them a fishing pole. If you give them a fish, they're hungry the next day. If you give them a fishing pole, then they know how to fish. So our job is not to give them fish. Our job is to teach them how to fish. Our job is to help them to understand how cause and effect works. So when planets do things, they don't take it personally and go, I'm horrible, no, or the planet's horrible, or they don't ask, why do bad things happen to good people? Which they should be saying, why do apparently bad things happen to apparently good people? Because what were you in your previous life? If you were a highway robber, then if some negative karma has come in this lifetime, well, what would you expect? What can stop them? Well, good question. But do you want to just remove all of the bad and keep only the good? It's childish. Do you understand? We've been acting for hundreds of lifetimes, and that stream of cause and effect is what we as a Jyotishi are trying to help the person understand better, have a bigger perspective, eventually know how to talk to the planets. And then the upaya is You can't really get the planet's attention until you take their seminar.
Yeah.
Every planet has a subject. And if you really want to make that planet happy, you don't wear their ring and say, oh, we're going steady.
Yeah.
You don't
We're going steady.
in the air in front of their altar and say, here, this junk's for you, like they need it.
Yeah.
You take their class. You go, what do you teach? How can I learn it? What do I need to know? Oh, Venus wants me to learn manners. Well, why the hell do I need those? Oh, see? Ah, I'm sorry. Got it. Okay, Guruji, Venus, Shukra, teach me manners. Teach me refinement. Teach me how to speak elegantly with multiple meanings. Do you know what a diplomat is?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the word means?
Well, not in a way that you're going to explain, but just
That's
a way
right.
common.
It means folded twice.
Diplomat folded twice. Okay.
It means everything they say has more than one level of meaning. They're not saying what they really mean. They're saying several things at once if you're listening.
Okay.
You say, do you think, Ambassador, that we should immediately go to war? And they say, war is a complex subject. Reframe. There's actually many meanings to going to war.
Yeah.
Maybe that many, but I can't say this on camera, so I'll say, right now, we're in a position of mutual respect, which is code for something else. That's poetry. We're now doing poetry, and Venus is the master of poetry. We're now doing diplomacy. Venus is the master of diplomacy, and we're now doing psychology, and most Jyotishis need psychology lessons.
Yeah.
Jyotish isn't enough. All right. So here's the last piece. Your question was, so what do we as Jyotishis do? We act as the representative of the balance point. And that balance point is Vishnu and Lakshmi.
Mm-hmm.
So the last invocatory mantra is Om Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. Narayanaya. Narayan means the resting place of all beings. O resting place of all beings. Janardana, from Jivanam Karma Phalado Graharupi Janardana. Jana Ardana, the source of birth, is the resting place of all beings. That's Narayan. You could just chant to him, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. Bring me to balance, please. Bring me back to the balance point. I've gotten off of it. Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya. Vas is the word vast, vase, vase, holding flowers. It's the container. Vasudeva is that being who's the container of life. Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. Vishnu, the correct wish. The wrong wish gets you in trouble. The correct wish for my good and the good of all. Vishnu's going, like that person. Good, good of all, like that. My good only? No, 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 no. So we, as Jyotishis, are the ambassadors for the Devas.
Okay.
So if we don't always say everything exactly bluntly, it's because that would take away free will. That would misuse our knowledge.
Exactly.
And distort the person's reality. And we're trying to help, but without co-opting their free will. And they're going, help, 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 help. A drowning person will just throw their hands up and say, take me, take me, take me. We're not supposed to do that with students or with clients or anyone else. We're supposed to help, help, help within our boundaries, not take over. Biggest trap for teachers. Don't take over.
No, absolutely. Like when I used to do like childbirth readings, and I used to see that a woman will suffer a miscarriage or abortion, I'm like, why do I need to tell this to them? Let them find out.
Yes.
I only do it if like, oh, did your mother have an abortion? Oh yeah, she did when I was young and all that. that's done. I can confirm that, but I'm not gonna say to someone like, oh, no, you're gonna have 3 abortions and then you're gonna have a child.
Yeah, that's great. I had a great learning on this. I had a client and a woman, and she was going to have a child, and I said, because she had Mars and some others in the fifth, and I said, you might have the child at the hospital. You do all the natural stuff you can, but you might just want to have it there. Ironically, she did, and the doctor cut her. So it was a karma that I couldn't stop.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't know that the doctor would goof during surgery and cut her.
Oh, got her. Okay.
So the birth was fine, but he cut her with the scalpel, and she had to get stitches in her birthing area because the doctor slipped and cut her open.
Oof.
It was a fine natural birth, but then he cut her. All right. So I think we're ready for poetry.
Yes. Let's go with poetry.
So what we're going to try to do here now is reach the Deva realm. This poetry came to me as my lifetime reflections upon Jyotish. So I'm 71 years old today as we speak in this body.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, not this very day, December 4th.
Okay.
Just gone by. And I started doing Jyotish when I was 19 years old, doing astrology. Okay. Jyotish when I was 28 years old. So these are my meditations that have come in the form of poetry, because this is the human skill. We can learn to use words in a subtle way. If you take this on as a practice, all of you Jyotishis, at first it'll seem difficult because the astrology seems to be in the left brain with mathematics. But if you practice it that way, it'll be terribly unbalanced because you're practicing it with people. Yeah. And most people aren't rational. Most people are emotional.
Yeah.
And poetry is emotional. It's using words and their meaning, but it's invoking emotions. So here we go. This poem is called We Constellate and Shine. Upon the convex mirror of the sky, reflections from forever ask us why. With sparkling strands of filigree blinking out the codes of eternity, we cannot tell if this is space or some inverted image of our face. It seems familiar and yet is somehow odd that mirrors should be used to show us God, and that in all our vague and tiny seeing, we should feel a part of endless being. Though galaxies in endless darkness sweep, seeing which our hearts are moved to weep, should seem like specks of light in someone's eye and make us feel as if we never die. Somehow, that vast, unyielding blue shows our inner constellations too. And in the patterns of their cosmic fire, echo the meanings of our secret desire. How this blue is like us, we can't say. What is our connection to the Milky Way, whose points of light invites us to an unknown goal, whose points of fire somehow instruct our soul? We are like them. We constellate and shine. We are some beacon calling to the divine, and in between our longing flows like beams of light across the distance, loving dreams transmitted on the flickering screen of blue, the meaning of this world in all we do.
Beautiful. Wow. And I have read this because you sent it previously to me, so I've been like just thinking on it. So I get a whole lot about it.
So this is the way we become a portal to the divine. Each one of us is divine. But if we activate our connection to the devas and beyond, to the ultimate beings, then we can become a channel, a conduit of contact with that which is apparently invisible, which is subtle, not so obvious. So let's try this at another level now. This one is called Circle of Light. And in this, I'm going to describe poetically the 12 signs, the 12 rashis of the zodiac. But first, I'm going to invoke Bhagavan. This mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, is 12 syllables. So it's the ultimate Jyotish mantra, because Vasudevaya is the vastness of this reality. Bhagavan is the source of that vastness. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's the 12 signs of the zodiac, all-encompassing reality mantra. So here we go. Circle of light. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Circle of light, revolving endlessly in space, shaping with subtle beams the lines of every face. As above, so below, each action finds its place. Aries, projected from another plane, desire sped, bursting origin of fire, smoldering red, deep crack from the mines of doom in the cosmic head. Taurus, this evoked into a power fair, songs that rejoice, the word broke free and sang, the day a shining voice, left and right, turning neck, paradox, wisdom's choice. Gemini, to live and living divide the one to sexes, clever fingers braid 3 strands, a twisted nexus, information aped the brain, churning complexes. Cancer, breast of heaven, pearled orb, swift mother of fate, 2 solidified as 4, fluid southern gate, home and haven, medicine, kindness conquers hate. Leo, bright heart, the pyramid, to focus every ray, offspring of light, born on the lotus, truth to say, lion in the night, golden, roaring forth as day. Virgo, hidden yet open, the virgin where none suspect, soft spot, decision, daily learning to protect, this craftsman building bright new worlds with intellect. Libra, conflict to culture grows, love is the highest law, dancing rainbows blind on the canvas, what she saw lives in dreams, I am many, we must learn to draw. Scorpio, deep desire burns, death, dark immortality, this secret seed will grow into eternity. Death to life, dying clings with great tenacity. Sagittarius, now the vision, man breaks forth, eyes upon the goal, every star is truth in fragments, a greater whole, calls answers, food to feast, the beast now serves the soul. Capricorn, dark light, where all is shadow, time to wake the spore, triumph, wisdom, slave to logic's law, peace or war, father time, master, watching at the unknown door. Aquarius, future peace, which hangs upon the universal, listening to inner voices. Who will heed the call? To understand the circle must include us all. Pisces, dreams, now visions turning, the whole is in each part. There in the universe that is the human heart. End and beginning, right before another start. O bright circle of light, reaching out its lines to trace designs of infinity on the human face, as above, so below, each action filled with grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Beautiful.
Ready for another?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This one's a little more accessible and closer to our world, but now watch how the images play and create multiple levels of experience of something we see all the time. This is called the silver path. And the silver path that I saw when I wrote this poem was a full moon rising above the Pacific Ocean and shining its waters across, shining its light across the waters, and there was a path of silver all the way to the moon.
Wow.
It was called the silver path. I built my home where the flashing foam rises up from the emerald sea over waves of brine with a curved design, like a shell washed up on the lea. And my bride, the moon, came to join me soon when the house I built was done, with her starlight maids, crystal balustrades, and a stained glass window. The sun swung from north to south, past the dragon's mouth, until the chill of winter was gone, from the sting of Antares, past the horns of Aries, to the eye of Aldebaran. Then our warm winds blessed our seaside nest, which rose and fell with the tide. So we tiled the floor with albacore and made wine from the tears we cried. And we drank all night from a cup of light at a table and chairs of sand on an oyster bed with a coral head and driftwood legs in the strand, as the palm trees' fronds waved like magic wands above our loving play, where the albatross flew like candy floss upon the turquoise spray. Now, on full moon nights, when my great pearl lights the sky with her sparkling laugh, you can find our place. By the line we trace on the waves is a silver path. If you fly due east, with your heart released from the doubts that hold you down, we've a spare room here. You can stay all year, but you're not allowed to frown.
Wow.
So if we took a picture of the things we really are experiencing, if you took a picture of someone you love, not an outside picture, the outside picture will dissatisfy you. You'll know the person inside. Now, make me a word picture of the person inside. That's poetry.
Okay.
Make me a word picture of the person you love so much. Tell me what it feels like when a hummingbird gets in front of you, fluttering its wings faster than you can imagine, with beautiful, brilliant plumage, and looks you right in the eye. Tell me how that feels, scientist. Do you measure your temperature? Do you describe the bird's mechanics? Or are you overwhelmed at the beauty of what just happened? That you had a momentary eye-to-eye, tete-a-tete with this being who's so bold and brave and flies through 70-mile-an-hour winds and survives and has to eat every 2 minutes, and you just were looking that being right in the eye. Now, tell me how to talk about that.
No, I get it.
That's the same feeling we feel as Jyotishi's looking at someone's chart and looking at them and trying to tell them something useful without making them seem ludicrous and limited and small. So here we go. This next poem is about something that we all experience all the time. And these are the moments when the sun is either in its northern course, we're about to have the winter solstice, or its southern course. The sun in the south is the northern course. Sorry, is the southern course.
Mm-hmm.
The sun in the south, with an upturned mouth, smiled across smoke and mist, like a flame in the snow it began to grow as it sank down into the west, while the night hung black like a robe of black, draped on the Milky Way breast of the curving lines on a form designed in the place where two lovers had kissed, and that airy embrace, traced by light in space, rose up on elliptical paths, descending above intersections of love, spilled down through celestial baths, down rivers of blue, past comets that flew like eagles to peaks far away. Their love formed a stream, moving shapes in a dream, overflooding the earth night and day, and the planets all turning in the grip of that yearning, spun madly in gravity's grip. Like drunkards on wine, they watched the divine, lovers in space, lip to lip. Next, a star broke apart with a flash from the heart of the pair whose passion increased, and the heat of their souls shifted the poles while the sun returned to the east. Now racing toward spring, where the dragon will sing to the phoenix renewing her glow. Then the moon and the sun merged together as one, as above, so below.
Excellent.
So that's me drawing a picture of the winter solstice.
Yeah.
You see? That's really me being used by Saraswati as I wish to draw a picture of the winter solstice, which I've watched for 50 years, and she's guiding my hand to say something and go beyond the limited things that I would say that are all too obvious to repeat, to say something interesting that tries to match the splendor of what I'm talking about. So here's one more, and this is to the 9 grahas. It's called the Queen of Evening. We stand obedient to your whim, O winged princess of the night, and wait for boisterous day to dim. Your silver-spangled robes of white, like eyelids, lift the purple edge of dusk, whereon the pearled brooch, your sign, invokes our patronage to where you sit in heaven's coach. The diadem above your brow, 7 sisters, one of whom is shy. Your heart, sweet Venus, rising now, throbs softly in the azure sky. And like a coral set with stars, the fiercest warrior stands demure, held in check. The deadly Mars looks on with noble Jupiter. Enraptured by your countenance, the playful messenger in glee excites our minds to sing and dance the faint but clever Mercury. While Saturn looks the other way, limping beyond the turning rim, ashamed to see such clever play, aware that none will play with him. The wind, your handmaid, starts to whirl, tossing blossoms from the trees, which like your tresses wave and curl. Your fragrance hovers upon the breeze. O Queen of Evening, full of grace, we watch you move in royal state. Gaze upon your smiling face, and yet remain insatiate.
Amazing.
And that, of course, was a configuration in the sky when I wrote it.
Yeah.
Mars was with Jupiter. All of the moon was rising and Mercury was still visible, and it was a new moon and or just afterwards, and that all this confluence of energetics was there. But if I just described that in a prosaic way,
Right.
wouldn't be
One
interesting.
thing I wanted to ask you, when you said the 7 sisters were rising and one was shy.
Pleiades.
Ladies, okay.
And one of those stars is not visible. And one of the mysteries is the six are visible except by telescope. The seventh is visible. And yet the ancients in India knew there were seven and called them the seven sisters
Wow.
without having
This is why I
telescopes.
said like your poetry has these slokas, these mysterious hidden codes. That if you have to like, somebody has to read your poem all day, one poem, and they'll be able to finally, get what that poem is coded for. That's why it's like, you're not just saying, okay, well, my poem is about Pleiades and Jupiter and Sun together. No, it's like a painting. You have to listen to it and just,
That's a very good observation. It is exactly a word painting and not just words.
yeah, it's a painting. You have to decipher what is that painting is doing. And otherwise it's not an art anymore. It just, somebody can just tell you, oh, this is a lady, but if you have to look at it all day, you'll see a dancing lady in there.
Okay. Now that feeling that you're feeling and projecting,
Yeah.
it's now coming from you. That is Saraswati. You're actually not only feeling her, but experiencing her and trying to describe her. And then it's like any moment of love or overwhelming beauty, you choke, you go, oh,
Yeah.
oh, oh, oh. I use words for objects all the time. I'm a caveman holding a rock. How can I describe your beauty?
Yeah.
And yet, if we don't try, we're not extracting the best out of being human. And this is the message of the rishis. It's the struggle to use words to describe the ultimate beauty that we're face to face with that makes us able eventually to talk to the divines.
Yeah. And this is why they say some of the meanings of Sanskrit can't even be translated into English.
Right.
Like there's no meaning, you can't say it.
It has to vibrate.
You have to know Sanskrit to just get it, but you will be able to explain it in English.
Absolutely. And at the very end, I'm going to do one more shloka that will demonstrate that. You're so prescient. You're such a good Rishi. So here's another one. It's called The Vault of the Heavens. So what is a vault? It's a place where you keep valuables.
Yeah.
The vault of the heavens conceals a secret code. In the multiples of earth, moon, and node, the web of math that holds our form is hid beneath our conscious knowing, like the id. And faster than the speed of light can go, consciousness is knowing what we know. Wild planets swing around their invisible track. In forward motion, they retrograde and back, while light that left its source in ages past has now become our present truth at last. As the metronomic wobble of our poles beats out a rhythm to the music of our souls, or like a ballerina pirouetting, our planet spins for a sun that is never setting, with eclipses like a Morse code in space, blinking hidden words to a distant place. The force that holds this spinning synastry, that cosmic superglue called gravity, is actually the work of countless divines in a university where they teach design. And apparently random trains stay on their tracks, while galactic ships sail, but with no sails. And circles bend like parting lovers' lips, enchanting curves pretending to be an ellipse. This intercourse of the heavens explodes with bliss, while a baby blinks her eye at all of this, with parts that move and bend due to this math, the same one that keeps the planets on their path. And we can see this secret or close our eyes, pretending that all this truth is really lies. There's a beautiful saying I heard recently. The first few sips of science make you a cynic. The last few sips make you a mystic.
Last few sips makes you a mystic.
We are Jyotishis. We are scientists and mystics. We bridge those disciplines. And that's why we must be poets as well, lest we become dry, mechanistic scientists and miss the meaning. It's like being with the most beautiful person you've ever seen and seeing their beauty, and all you can do is describe their vitals.
Yeah.
Their temperature is this, your pulse is this.
You know what this Jyotishi do is 99% of them, this is your painting, this is a red color, blue color, green color, magenta, purple, and black. Okay, that's the painting that you have.
You can go now, you need some more black.
Okay, that's yeah, you got describing all the colors correctly, but okay, but you still didn't tell me what is that color doing? What is that? And that's where a Jyotishi has to come in and just paint it. That, look, this is your beautiful painting. Let me show you what it means. That's
it. We have to get down. We have to get down with it. It's an art.
Yeah.
It's not just a science. It's a science for the Ganita and for the knowing. And then we have to switch over and do jazz and dance and roll with it and be with it and have feeling.
Yeah.
See? And that's where the Kavi is.
Yeah.
That's the lyric. If you listen to Elton John sing one of his famous songs, he was the piano player. He could rock it. Behind him was a poet who wrote almost all those songs.
All those songs, yeah. That's the majority of the stars.
Yep. So if we're going to be the whole package, we have to struggle to work on both sides of our being. So I hope that the result of listening to this is not just that you hear me do this, it's that you do what you hear me doing. Because all the great rishis did this. They converted the revelations that the divines gave to them into poetry so it could inspire others and be passed on to them. So this is an invocation of the muse, of the poet within each of you, that it may come forth and you may find your voice, because it is that voice that you're using to try to help others.
And modern scholars say that back in the days, the culture was that it was just everybody just wrote poetry and that, or they did some Renaissance painting. That's why everybody just does it. But they don't get the fact that there's a code hidden in why it was a poetry and why it wasn't just a straight up language. Like people question, why is this Parashara in Sanskrit written like a poetry? Oh, maybe because they just didn't know had the analytical skills of how to write.
Right.
But
well, here's a great
beyond that. It's a lower level to just read something in a plain text.
Absolutely. What you're saying is so profound, Kapiel.
Yeah.
It's because what happened in our culture is a very unfortunate circumstance occurred. What became the religion of Christianity, instead of becoming gentle and mild and loving like Jesus, as you expect or hope, instead it became aggressive and mirrored its Roman and cultural origins.
Yeah.
So when that happened, then the Supreme Being was depicted as angry, vengeful, and dangerous. So that split, and there was no science. It was all just going to the final.
Yeah.
One lifetime, one chance. Very scary.
Yeah.
So no disrespect to anyone in what I'm saying. They just did this. That's what happened. So it made religion seem very dangerous and scary, and it was closed-minded and unscientific. So when Greek science, which was originally from India, when Aristotle, Plato, all of these Greek thinkers leaked into Western civilization, there was a whole library of Aristotelian books, all of his works, translated from the original Greek into Arabic, that were found in a cave in Spain in the 12th century. And when that library got translated and hit Christianity, it just caused total chaos. Finally led to the Protestant Revolution and split academia and science against religion.
Mm-hmm.
So I call modern science the runaway abused child of the medieval Catholic Church.
Yeah.
They are against the inner faculties being activated and connecting directly with their source in the divine. Whereas in the Vedas, both of those desires are validated.
Like a scientist say, how can a planet 30 million miles from here affect you and what you're doing in there. That's a scientist. But a poetic scientist would be like, I know there's a difference, 30 million year difference, but perhaps something I'm just not knowing right now. And it's my missing link that just keeps me away from understanding maybe this astrology. Like how Einstein and Tesla were. They were just not just scientists. They were looking at it from this code of the God's code. Like there's
Yes.
something divine at work.
Well, and this is a good example. That's well said. So Tesla was friends with Swami Vivekananda. Did you know that?
Really?
Yes. He was a student of Vivekananda, and it was from Vivekananda that he learned that Akash, or space, is not empty, it's full. And that became the basis of his work, of Tesla's work.
And for him also, he said 3, 6, and 9. If you understand that, you understand the divine.
That's it. And those are the same multiples of the Yuga system and of all of the math that's used in the Vedic system. So we need to have the capacity, again, as I said in that quote, the first 2 steps of science make you a cynic. So they're right. I say to the scientists, yes, of course you're right. It's not the gravity of the planet that's causing the effect. It's the devas. Now they really think you're crazy. They say, you mean the funny little people? You mean the fairies?
Yeah.
No, I mean the all-pervading divine intelligence that is visible everywhere in the universe if you can see it. And if you can't, how can you be a scientist? And hence Einstein was an intuitive scientist, as you're pointing out.
Yeah.
And he had a grand vision of the universe as an amazing mystical thing. Okay, here's one more. This one is to our most maligned yet profound friend, Shani Deva.
Okay.
Shani Deva Saturn. It's called Ring Pass Not. We have 3 poems to go. Before the handful of seeds was scattered that grew into this earth, before the ancient kings had ruled or even taken birth, a violet glow lit the dark, the blackness, and the deep. A spirit moved methodically, dreaming in their sleep. Hands began to fashion shapes of what would come to be. The roots dug deep in mud and rock to support reality. In silence, alone, this artificer toiled throughout the night, like a spider weaving webs with silver strands of light. Rings emerged like ripples on an ever-widening pool, formed from air and vapor with each movement of his tool. Boundaries formed, shapes emerged, palaces of ice hung on granite mountain peaks with cleverest device working in the shadows. A craftsman wove a web of steel, net of form and shape that forms the basis of the real. Marks, distinctions, boundaries, lines defining limitation, circle, womb of time, elliptical orbit of manifestation, slowly from the dark emerged life, the endless pattern, master of karma, fate, and death, lord of destiny, Saturn.
Beautiful. And you said Lord of Destiny.
Lord of destiny.
Saturn is what
must happen.
Controls our destiny.
What must happen?
What must happen?
Saturn is the ripe phala. When the fruit is ripe, it falls from the tree, is the saying. That moment is Shani, and we should go, Shani Dev, there you are. The fruit is ripe. The deed is done. The response is complete. What is karma but the fingerprints of our actions? The crime is solved. Sherlock Shani. solved the crime, found the result, brought everything to conclusion. Ta-da!
So what we do, even as our livelihood, can be strongly controlled just by Shani itself.
Everything that we do that deals with how things are manifest within matter is in Shani's hands. That's why Shani is the child of Surya, by Chaya, his second wife.
Yeah.
So Shanaishcharaya, Shaniji is, if the light is where life is beginning, then when it's all the way condensed into something, you can't now reshape that something without breaking it.
Yeah.
So now that's Shani. This has specific rituals, specific nature. You can't alter that without destroying it.
Like a
So
karma.
it's cast. That's it. It's cast. All right. Well, we're almost at the winter solstice. What time is it?
It's 3:13 p.m. here.
What time is the solstice?
Solstice, I thought it was supposed to be
Today?
Today, late night. Like around 9 p.m.
9 p.m. So
Yeah.
there you go. And today we also have an interesting conjunction of Shani and Surya.
Surya, that's right. Wow.
Right? To degree. So for a moment there, click. And then we have this paradox, this ultimate opposite. So this next poem is about this winter solstice, because at the summer solstice, there's a say in the chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, is described how a yogi leaves this world, and it's either during the 6 months of the year from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, where the light is increasing in the northern hemisphere. That's called the northern gate, and the gate is open during that time. And from the summer solstice until the winter solstice, it's the southern gate, and you cannot leave this world easily if you leave during the southern gate being open. But there's another window, that's the full moon. But the fortnight of going to full moon is a bright gate also. So these rhythms of light that we're in the midst of are a very significant part of our life. So this next poem is called Uttarayana, the Northern Gate, which begins as soon as we cross the winter solstice. Now the sun starts going back toward so that's the gate to Devaloka. And the lower gate is to Patal and some of the lower lokas. So here we go. On the summer solstice, the northern gate is to the Deva realm is wide open for the last time until the winter solstice. This is the day of peak solar manifestation, when the masculine divine, in his most noble and brilliant form, is shining forth to empower all Atmas who are willing to fill their being with the sunshine as direct link to the immortal realms of Brahman. Drink this Amrita, O flickering mortals. Invite that joyous light into the darkened hallways of your physical vehicle. Light the lamps in the damp hallways of the pyramid that is your dense body. Invite the light, invite the light, invite the light. So I'm doing this poem as we're just at the winter solstice, because this is the opposite. So just as we light lights as it becomes darkest, this poem is 8th in our series of 9 for today, and it's called The Song of a Sun Inside, celebrating the summer solstice. The summer light lasted half the night, when the solstice had just gone by. The electric blue cast an eerie hue, like a soul that will never die. And I longed to rest on the purple breast of my dusky slumber maid, but I could not sleep in her arms or keep the meeting which we had made. So I closed my eyes from the glaring skies, seeking in darkness to hide. But the black was gone. Now a rosy dawn sang the songs of a sun inside. Then that amber orb, with a pulsing throb, rose up within my mind, and the shining globe shed its silken robe, burning until I was blind, blind to the sky, blind to the eye, bound by flesh and skin, blind to my ego, blind to the shadow. The sun rose up from within. Now the black of space, once an empty space, became a realm of endless love, an ocean of bliss. Waves of happiness came crashing down from above on a golden mountain. A silver fountain sends forth streams of light. Beneath towering trees, with jewels for leaves, flows the river of my delight. There beneath those trees, sweet divinities disport themselves on the ground, showering tenderness, shining happiness, to a concert of holy sound. And that day shines yet. Now it will not set in my heart, either night or day. But once in a while, on my joyful smile, you can glimpse that eternal ray.
Beautiful. Wow.
And Kapiel Raaj, it is with the most humble and sincere gratitude that I thank you for creating a space for this and for being so visionary as to make a channel where Jyotish and its divine light shines out into the world. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, you're welcome. But remember, it's probably not me. It's probably Saraswati or Parashara saying, you know what, in this Kali Yuga, I think we need a medium like something. Okay, you're going to do it. That's all that is.
As a matter of fact, the way the Latin people, the Romans used to say this was, if someone said to you, oh, you're such a genius, the person would reply, oh, no, my genie did that.
My genie.
That's where the word genius comes from. And they would point upwards. They would say, no, my genie did it. I didn't do it. My genius did it.
Wow.
We now have accepted the genius as us. That's our hubris, our pride. We're confused. We don't know that so much divine grace is giving us every day, every breath, every meal, all the beauty we see, the love we have. And then all of that is purposeful. Its purposefulness is the very essence of Jyotish. And everyone's here on purpose, and therefore they deserve our respect.
Yeah.
Every living being, every entity, every creature deserves the same respect from us. Even if we have to have them for dinner, we have to do it in such a way that we respect them and honor them. And it's this honoring that we have lost.
Yeah, no, that is so true. Look, I'll tell you, I'm a non-veg, but now what has happened in the last 2-3 years, like whenever I get some piece of meat or something, I actually, in the kitchen, I'm kind of weird. I'm like, okay, I hope nobody's looking. I pray and I bless them to receive moksha in this life and to receive wealth, whatever they have been born. If they become a flower, I want them to be surrounded by more flowers and have all the juices in them.
Yep.
That's all I do. It's like, it's weird. It's like, I'm like, no, if I'm taking this piece of meat, put it in my body, the least I can do is just pray for its enlightenment in whatever next life they have taken.
Absolutely. I would like to think that this show that we're making is going to be seen by Eskimos living up in the ice.
Yeah.
Who have computers. Well then, am I going to say to them, okay, everyone, because this knowledge comes from India, you should all be vegetarian, or else you're evil people.
Exactly. I know exactly what you're saying.
I don't think so. Everyone has to do what they have to do according to circumstance, but if it's done in a sacred way, then we would not keep animals prisoners and then eat them. We would give them a life and then eat them. And we would call them by name and honor them. And we know there's an Atma inside.
You know, in Alaska and North Pole, they actually honor the animal. They're like, this animal just saved my life for the next 6 months. I have to honor it. And I'm like, wow, that's the way to eat me.
That's it. This is the spirit of the Vedas. And to make it into a vegetarian cult.
Yeah, that people have this crusade. Oh, you're not a pure person because you eat meat. You're not. You shouldn't be doing any of this because you're not pure and all of that. And they don't get it. I'm like, you just don't know. You don't get it.
At the same time, those concepts of having a lighter impact on our environment
Yeah,
are also important, and we need to think about them so we're aware of the consequence of what we're doing.
Exactly.
But it's really all a part of a deeper humility, and we express it after a while with each other. It's a gratitude. It's seeing you as the Atma, every single one. It's seeing, if you're in a man's body, it's seeing the lady who's showing her beauty on the outside of herself. Look her in the eye and see her Atma first, and say, oh, you are beautiful. Not just your vehicle, not your car.
No, I'll tell you what happened today. Every morning I go and get my coffee with my dogs. And today when I went to McDonald's, there was a old African-American man with a cane, wearing like a dark blue sweater and a black pants. And I was just waiting for my coffee. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually standing right next to Shani. I'm like, I try to go back. I'm like, let me just put my hands together. I'm doing these weird things now. I'm like, it's not a man who's standing next to me. It's Shani with a cane, limping. And I'm like, and it's blue. And I'm like, I didn't see the person I saw Saturn. I saw Shani.
Right.
And I'm like, let me honor it. And then he just started speaking to me. And I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? But I was like, man, I want to just pray to this person.
So good. So there's where you were being a
diplomat.
Because you saw Shani, and you saw the Atma, and you saw multiple layers.
Yeah.
This is
I saw the cane, I saw that and everything. Within a second, I'm like, oh my God, I'm standing next to Shani trying to get my coffee.
That's it. So Jyotish is to see this, and Kavi or Chandas is to be able to express it, put it in words.
Yeah.
Wow. So I request you write a poem about meeting Shani at the cafe this morning.
Okay.
Just write a little poem. Don't worry about it and make it seem like a difficult task, but write it with feeling.
Okay, so this is something that I'm about to start because I've been so passionate about photography. I'm actually going to start a project just on YouTube where I'll be taking pictures and I'll be just telling people, okay, what do you think I'm trying to say here about astrology and nakshatras and the planets? And I want to do it like professional style, and that's something gets me. I'm like, I love photography. Why don't I mix my other passion of astrology and photography and not just tell people, oh, this is it, let them figure it out. And so I got my prop. Look, I'm not even joking. This is my prop of an army person. Okay, so I'll be taking some picture like this, and I'll be doing it in a very creative way where people start to study and understand this photograph is not just a photograph. It has a lot of symbolism in them that is telling me about something about astrology.
Yes, wonderful.
So that's what I'm doing. But thank you so much, Guruji, for coming here and lighting us. And this is a great Christmas gift for everyone.
You're welcome. And here we have our last poem of the day.
Oh, okay.
And it's called The Eye of Knowing. And this poem was written in 15 minutes.
Wow.
So this is to all the Jyotishis out there. Listen carefully. I'm going to read it slowly because this is for all of you. And I wrote this poem last year. So this is the culmination of my lifetime of being a Jyotish. It's called The Eye of Knowing. Within the sparkling firmament, echoes of the things we meant, flotsam and jetsam in waves of time, shining beyond where birds can climb, and slowly descend to where we sit, delivered by each elliptical orbit, while devas, only doing their jobs, steal the money from one who robs, repay the innocent once made poor, drop a newborn baby outside a door, a foundling who is someday meant to change the world as president. For nothing is ever what it seems when debts are paid for ancient schemes. And underneath the bodily costume, who resides in that darkened room remains a mystery still unknown, a secret traveler behind that persona. We never know where each other has been. Men who were women, women who were men, a costume change, and then back on stage. And the mighty king is now a page, while winking stars who know the secret reveal it to all those who seek it. Behind the purple curtained sky, the cause and effect that did not die, encrypted in each silver mote, a lover's kiss, an unread note, the repartee to unkind words, a sorting out of cryptic proverbs, coming around and going down, following the sender to each new town, a drama in which none are innocents, leaving a trail of divine fingerprints. There is no defense against cause and effect, no mountain or fortress that can protect, no way to evade the cosmic law, with witnesses to every drama who saw exactly what transpired in every deed, every action, for each is but a seed, a sprout in the garden of destiny, descending in the planet's periodicity, the ephemeral in an ephemeris, transformed by time to circumstances, hidden meanings and innuendo, moonbeams passing through our window, no more secrets than they are letting on. And another will follow when the last is gone. Yes, this is samsara, the ocean of action, pleasure and pain, but no satisfaction. And you can order anything they serve, but the waiter only brings what you deserve. The science of time, the eye of knowing, the secret messages that are not showing, the answer to your every wish, the science of karma in light. Jyotish.
Science of karma in light. That's the thing. Karma looks so invisible, but Jyotish is like, no, karma is visible right there. Let me show it to you.
Right there.
Wow.
Now, I said I would end, Kapiel Ji, with one more mantra. This one is from the Atharva Veda, and I will send the words if you so desire, so that people may have them, including an English translation. But this is to the 10th planet, who is so very neglected. Mata Bhumi, Mother Earth. So this hymn that I'm about to recite in Sanskritam is to Mata Bhumi, Mother Earth. And it is us dedicating ourselves to this 10th planet, as the reason that we are Jyotishis is to act for our own good and the good of all beings on this planet. And we need to reaffirm this and speak it regularly as Jyotishis. Not the planets over there, but the planet's effects here on the 10th planet, Mata Bhumi, the third rock from the sun, where we are having this sacred opportunity of life. So here we go. Om yasyam samudra bhuta sindurabo, yasyam bandam prishtaya sambhavu, yasyam idam jinvati prana deva, sano bhumi purum mehe dadatu, vishvambara vasudani pratishta, hiranyavaksha jagato niveshani, vaishvanaram didvati bhumi ragni, Indra Ushabata Mineno Dadatu, Hiryasve Parvata, Himavanto Anyam, De Prithivisyo Namaskuru, Arjun Krishna Rohini Vishvarupam, Ruambhumi Prithivi Indra Gupta, Ajato Hato Akshato Jeshtam, Prithivi Aham, Yatte Madhyam Prithivi Akshanabhyam, Yastabulya stanva sambhavuhu, dasu loke habina prabhasvabhata, Bhumi putro aham pratibhyaha parjanya pita sapurna vipaltu. Om. May all be fed, may all be safe, may all find peace, and may the true spirit of the return of the light at the winter solstice and the Jyotish and its rays reach out to everyone and help them to find their way in the darkness of this world. Asatoma Satgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. And thank you again, Kapilji, for your Mahatma broad-minded vision of doing this. It's historic.
So much. And if anybody wants more information, please go to jeffreyarmstrong.com. I believe that's the website. Yes. So you'll find a whole lot more detail and art of living there, pretty much. So,
and many YouTubes also, if they want.
Great.
Thank you, Kapilji, so very much. Have a wonderful solstice.
Yes, you too. See you next year.
May all the planets shine their blessings upon you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.